Hi guys, it's Charlie from Charlie's Fly Box, and today I'm going to tell you one of my favorite old school flies. This is a lead-eyed bugger, and this fly is actually uh, this is the fly that got me going to tie the first gonga. And if you know the history, which not many people do, but the original gonga was just a single hook fly, but based off of this idea. And what I've got here is a Tiemco 5263 in a size 4. And the first thing I'm going to do is turn this hook upside down because we're going to tie some lead eyes on the hook. Um, and I want to tie them in on the underside of the hook shank. So if you've got a rotary vise, one of them fancy rotary vices, use that. But mine doesn't do that. So I'm just going to turn that hook over. It's pretty quick and easy. So I'm going to dress about the front third of the shank. And I'm going to come back up to the eye. And then I'm going to bump back about half that distance. And I'm going to tie in a set of medium-sized plated lead eyes. So these are the shiny silver ones. And I'm going to tie these in with X-wraps. And one thing I try to do is I'll make 8 or 10 turns, and I'll turn that. You've got no focus there, but I try to cover that crossbar. And then I'll take a wrap around the hook, and I'll wedge that eye in place, and I'll go the other direction and cover the crossbar. And then I'll go back and forth, 8 or 10 turns one way, 8 or 10 turns the other way. And then I'm going to go between the eyes and the hook shank to tighten those previous wraps up. And then I'll come around the hook. Now, one thing I want to do is make sure that those eyes are straight on the hook before I continue on. I'll turn this over in the vise so you can get a little more focused on it. Make sure those eyes are square. Doesn't hurt to put a little shot of glue on there. We're going to strive for a little shot of glue. So I've got those glued in. A little tilted here. A little tilted the other way. I'm afraid of that super glue getting all over my fingers. So now I'm going to make a thread base all the way back to the bend. And incidentally, the thread I'm using is 6/0 unithread. 110 denier Magpie Materials thread would be a good one here, as would 3/0 Danville monocord. Any of those heavier threads work great for streamer stuff like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a black marabou feather, and I like to brush it out a little bit just to make sure it's all pretty and beautiful. And I'm going to bunch the tip up like so. And once I've got that bunched up, I'm going to measure it about a shank length long. I'm going to tie it in at the bend with a little band of thread, like so. Now I'm going to take another marabou feather, and I'm going to do the same thing. I like the tails on these to be sort of extra thick. So I'll brush out the second feather. And this marabou is oddly really nice marabou. It's not all great marabou these days. It's kind of junky, but this is some nice stuff. This is some stuff I got from Nature Spirit. Thomas does a good job with this stuff. It's beautiful. So nice thick, I just measured that second feather to the same length as the first. Nice thick marabou tail. So I'm going to lift those butt ends up. I'm going to bring my thread up to just behind the eyes and lay both those butt ends back down. And anchor that down in place, and then I'll trim those butt ends off as close as I can get them. And I'll spiral wrap back over that marabou, just right back to the bend. Then I'll come just in front of the hook point. We're going to put a little flash in here. For the flash, I like to use, this is just pearl crystal flash, and I'm going to get, 3 or 4 strands, I guess, maybe 5. I think that's 4. You can tell I'm very adamant about having the exact right amount. And I'm going to tie this in at the center of its length, and I'm going to wrap over the far side while I hold it in place against the far side of the hook. So I want it to line up along the side of the tail. And I'll bump that thread forward just a bit and pull the near side back and guide it into place as I wrap over it along the near side of the tail. And I'll trim that flash just a bit longer than the tail, like so. Now the body on this fly is solid Tinsel chenille, and this is olive. But we're not going to tie that in yet. Psych. We're going to tie in our hackle feather. So our hackle feather, this is just a black dyed saddle hackle feather. And one thing I like to do is strip a little section at the base just before the fluff, so that I've got a clean stem to tie off with. And then I will create a separation point here at the tip and just stroke those fibers against the grain. You can see that feather's got a nice taper. I'll stroke those fibers against the grain. And when I tie this in, I want to tie in over these double back fibers. So I'm going to lay this in with the inside of the feather toward the hook and anchor that down right there at the bend. And I can trim the tip out. So we got that feather tied in by the tip. Now I'm going to take my tinsel chenille and I'm going to tie this in just up here behind the eyes and wrap back over it all the way back to the tail and then forward again. Now I do like to put a little glue down before I wrap this chenille. So just a thin coat. We've got all that marabou in there. That'll lock everything in. Locks that whole underbody in nice and tight. And then I'll begin wrapping the chenille. And I'm trying to butt those wraps close together, build a nice juicy body. You could even double the chenille up. I'm going to wrap right up to the back of the lead eyes and then tie that chenille off. Come in and trim that tip out. So far we're just tying a bugger. He's got some lead eyes on him, and that's why creatively this fly is called a lead-eyed bugger. But what this is different, and this is the fly that really kind of got me into streamer fishing. What this fly, the thing that's different about it, is this fly is heavy. Those heavy lead eyes make this fly sink face down, eye down, so it just plummets to the bottom. And what we're going to do is build a little head on there that kind of makes this a little bit more sculpin or baitfish-like as well. So what I've done in the meantime, while I was talking about that, is I've folded this saddle hackle feather. You can see I'm just sort of working those fibers up and down. I want them all to sort of form that V right there. And then I'll start to palmer the feather forward. My good friend Matt Prowse still loves and fishes this fly. He asks me about it every time he comes to the shop, and this video is half for him. He keeps asking me how to tie it, and this is in my streamer book. If you don't have my streamer book, you should get it. I'm going to palmer that hackle up and tie it off there just behind the eye, or just behind the eyes, and I can kind of brush that out and get that hackle all flowing. Now, this is the tricky part of the fly. This is some fine light olive chenille. And this is fine size, so it's smaller than usual. It's not the regular medium-sized chenille. And we're going to build a ball around these eyes. Now the trick, I've tied lots of these over the years, and the trick is if you tie it in and back, you end in a different spot than you started, and so you end up with a lopsided head. So what I want to do to counteract that is I want to tie this in just behind the eye, like so. Excuse me. And I'm going to take a turn around, and then I'm going to go behind the far eye and around the hook and in front of the near eye, or in front of the far eye. And we're just making essentially X-wraps here to build a ball. And you've got to kind of hold your hackle out of the way as you do it. And when I get that nice little ball shape made, did I catch that hackle? Nope. I can tie that chenille off at the front as well. We end up with that nice little round head. Come in and trim that chenille out, and then just a smooth thread head to finish him off. Excuse me. Throw a whip finish on there. A little shot of head cement just to finish him off. Make sure you get all the way around. And that is a lead-eyed bugger. Simple little fly, super simple. But gosh, I've got a ton of fish on this thing over the years. Just dark. Could be black, could be olive. You can tie it with a black head also. I've done that. The olive one seems to be the favorite. just that little round head. You could, of course, do that with an orange chenille and have sort of an egg-sucking lead-eyed bugger. But that's a simple little bug, but that's an awful good one. If you're just getting into streamers and want something simple to tie that I guarantee you will work, that's the fly for you. And if you're way into streamers and you haven't thrown something like this, you should tie some up and throw them in the water and rip somebody's face off, because that's what it's all about. There you go, guys. That's the lead-eyed bugger. I'm Charlie Craven from Charlie's Fly Box. Again, if you need stuff, we've got a whole full-fledged fly shop there in Arvada, Colorado called Charlie's Fly Box. We've got a great website. Also, it's called charliesflybox.com. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. We've got some good content coming out. Max Boshin is our social media guy, and he's killing it. But check it all out, and we appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. You guys take care.